That should run for a while.
All right, we are recording now. We're having a little bit of issue with the wireless signal out here. It might be related to the storm that's rolling in, but we definitely will get some footage and good feed for you guys on the internet. Again, this is the second play of the second quarter in the first half of the game here between the Red Dot Badgers and the Red Dot Whites. The Badgers are lining up on defense. You hear on the tower side of the field. I'm being signaled by my fellow camera person that it is indeed the third play of the quarters. You can hear the thunder rolling in on the outside. It's definitely going to be a dramatic game here. Now, what we've noticed the last few points is that players are starting to get a little bit frustrated trying to move flags up the field. A little bit of wiping going on both teams, but luckily the referees are paying attention and throwing those penalties as needed. Now, I do expect this game to get very intense. David Wilson is a little bit upset with himself, trying to figure out exactly what he was thinking, trying to wipe that hit off the bunker. But here he goes to the outside, pausing, sent the flag up the middle into that car wash, making sure that he's got that side locked down with David on the far car wash. Harley Grinder on the defensive side, who is also in the mirror bunker of Jordan here. So he's going to be locking down the outside of this lane to make sure that David can't move up. We got David here on the inside shooting to try to clear the snake side Dorito, which is live, as well as the snake side corner for the Badgers. Now the Whites, they've really got to get something moving up here. Again, they do have the flag past that 45-point line, or the 45-foot line, which is good. David Wilson was able to make it all the way up into that 50, what we're calling the Hershey Kish. Harley Grinder come out the outside into that. He's going to run him down on the outside there. Here we go. Expect Harley Grinder to look inside to take all these shots. We've got Harley Grinder has got to shoot this player before he runs that point in, or before he runs that flag in for the point. Now he's got to get a little bit of backup on his team, but it looks like it might be it's at least a 2-on-1 situation with two Badgers player getting outside. Did not get the kill after running him down, but he's definitely shot now as Harley Grinder came and just ran along that very line on the side of the red zone. Almost out of bounds for the defensive play, but definitely kept it alive. Looks like we've got a penalty that Carson is talking to the ref. We've got a player on the Badgers that was caught playing on with a hopper hit, which will give a penalty in the favor of the Whites. 4-on-3, and it looks like they're definitely getting their players wiped off here, getting everybody ready for the power play that they've got coming up on this next play attempt for the field, which is going to be good to see.
Oh, yeah. Who was that, Harley? Yeah.
Looks like hopper hit penalty on Harley Grinder possibly. But, you know, whatever you need to do to get those kills still at the point, if you got to do that to stop a point, sometimes that's just what you got to do. A lot of guys consider that dirty. I consider it effective, but I'll leave that up to you, because every time you wipe a hit, God kills a kitten. That's what I've heard. It's a rumor on the internet, so let's hope that we can keep it a relatively clean game today, but knowing these two teams and the level of intensity, I don't expect this to be a very clean game at all, as we've seen so far, and it's only going to get worse as the tension mounts. But the Whites they have a 3-0 record on this season so far. They've got 3 wins and no losses. I believe the Badgers are 2-1. So if the Badgers are able to keep the lead and win this game, they will be tied for first place going into the mid-season break. But again, we've got that power play for the Whites with the only 3 defensive players on the Badgers. The Whites, again, pulling David Wilson in a very conservative breakout, actually, as David's up into this 50 Dorito. And I'm going to try to tuck in a little bit to stop from getting shot here, but we've got David engaged in 2 battles right now. Flag is coming in behind David. Looks like Trevor's got the flag. He's into the snake bunker where he's going to lay down. He's just got to get the flag past that line. Make sure he checks himself out. All the Badgers players have been eliminated. It's just a matter of making sure that Trevor is clean when he goes in to hang that flag.
Stay in the box.
So let's see him get into the box there. The refs are waiting for him to cross the line as the thunder is rolling in. Definitely going to be exciting.
What would have made that any better is a picture of the lightning strike right behind you when he knocked him out.
We'll do what we can.
Looks like they're checking the gun, checking all the scoring.
That's what I'm talking about.
We got some conversation on the power play. Looks like the point was good. I haven't seen a flag. I didn't notice a signal, but looks like they scored a point for the Whites. That's what we're going to assume for now, unless they throw their hands up, which should bring this game a little bit closer. We're going to see if the Badgers can maintain their lead. I believe they've got a 2-1 lead at this point, as they're signaling for a 10-second quick start. It means that the Whites are going to need to really hustle to get into their box. All 4 alive, all 4 ready. And here come the Badgers, setting the flag on the outside, trying to get close to their pits again. That very faithful car wash over there. As he's moved all the way up into the 50, checking himself, got some bounces coming in. Oh, good shot by Trevor Hollenbeck, or by Jordan up in the middle here, making sure to lock off that important lane from the car wash to that 50, but he's got to get his gun up. Absolutely cannot have your gun down, or things like that are going to happen. Just let him walk right into that 50. And so they've got to win these battles. I see it looks like at least 3-on-1, 4-on, looks like 4-on-3 in favor of the Whites. We've got Todd Mork ran out to the far side corner here to clear things up, just the Lightning behind him. This is getting very exciting. You can tell that the Badgers players are all trying to feed information to their flag carrier on the field, as the other player moves into the backup position, and that can trying to give a little bit of support to his player on that side of the field. Looks like the flag carrier was able to win the gun battle down the side of the field, eliminate Todd Mork from the corner. But we've still got a player in the corner here watching it, and the player in the car wash watching over the top. David moves down the outside, shoots that player out.
Flag's down at the kid!
Now the flag is down.
Yes! He's coming! He's coming!
Lines are set up. Let's see if he made the shot, trying to get in there. Looks like he made it in clean, but all they've got to do is keep him stuck in that bunker. And that is the end of the play. The time has expired. But there we go. That's the play attempt, and the Whites were able to hold the Badgers to that small lead for that play.
We just scored, dude. Half already?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Score is White 1, Badgers 2.
Right. How much time were they running off?
All right, so here we go. It is the halftime now, as we just heard from the tower there, and the score is 2-1 in favor of the Badgers, but the Whites are definitely coming back with a vengeance. They've figured out the plan. They've got the layout worked out. They've got it back in their heads that they are going to try to win this game.
Halftime, 20 minutes, guys.
So we got a 20-minute break for halftime. I'm going to see if I can't get a hold of some of the coaching staff from the other side of the team. And I'm going to go see if I can't sneak a little bit of insight from Coach Harley Grinder of the Badgers about what's working right on this layout, things that he'd like to see different for the second half. I know he's always got a bag of tricks up his sleeve as far as making sure to switch things up a little bit, switch where his players are going, who's carrying the flag, things like that, so that the other team in the Whites don't figure out exactly what they're doing. The last thing that Harley wants to do right now is have his team fall into a rhythm that the Whites can pick up on. So you see them all in here for their halftime break.
Right, and I wasn't
getting their games worked out, discussing what worked, what didn't work in the previous points. Very intense moment here, but everybody's obviously in a good mood. They're up on points against a team that's been able to hold them off pretty much all season. A lot of confidence in these guys. They're shaking their heads. They're getting ready to go, all holding themselves pretty well, getting their guns checked out, making sure that everything is ready to go for the next half.
Hi, Dennis.
Looks like Harley is sending a hi out to Dennis,
Miss you, brother,
who is definitely badly missed over here. So Harley, what do you think that's working really well in this layout? What are the advantages that you have coming into this game?
We practice.
They do, actually. The Badgers are one of the only teams that hold actual team practices, and it's showing today in their confidence on the field. You can see they're winning a lot of very important gun battles. Another thing that you're going to notice that I'll show you here is that the coaching staff is allowed to coach from behind this line.
And we have the best pit in the league.
Yeah, yes. They've signaling they've got the best pit in the league.
Shout out to the pit.
Which are these lovely helpers in here. But the reason that you're going to see them sending the flag on this side of the field so often, especially up into this middle bunker, is that the coaching staff is able to walk in between a few points here. We've got a 45-foot walking distance that the coaches are allowed to be in, where I'm standing right now. And so what the coach is going to be doing, their job is to communicate to the players on the other side exactly what's going on, exactly where they want to see the flag move, and exactly how they want these players to approach their gun battles, whether or not they want to come in with their guns out, guns down, set things up, anything that they need to shuffle up as the weather's starting to roll in. The sky's opening up a little bit. But I'm gonna show you guys some of the shots that we've got on these very powerful bunkers. Now, the one that you've been hearing me talk about all day is this 50 Hershey Kiss, which we've got on the outside here. And so this player's job, especially if they've got the flag, is first to try to make that kill on the far left side of the field, or right, depending on which direction you're going, but to try to shoot out this corner. So if this gun battle is won by the player up in the 50, what he's gonna do is take his gun and start wrapping around, and what he's hoping to do is catch players off guard, especially if you've got a player that's up in this car wash whose job really is to just lock down the other side of the field. If he's playing a little bit sloppy or not paying attention, what this player's gonna look to do is step back a little bit, pop outside, maybe get a couple shots on his pack, shoot him in the back of the head maybe if he's in a right mood or got the shot available to him. And once you clear out this kill, it's really just wrapping around and making sure that these other lanes are covered off. Because another bunker that you're gonna see that's always full is the Dorito on the far side there. You'll see just over the top of this car wash that the refs are blowing up. And of course the car wash that's in the dead middle. So what we've seen so far today a lot is these players that are getting into these car washes on the middle of the field, and it's a very defensive role that you're playing even if you're on the offensive team. The way that these bunkers are laid out can be used for a variety of different purposes depending on your certain playing style or what the plan for that game requires. So the shots that we're seeing from this middle bunker, which is where most teams send somebody off the break, it's their job to block off this lane. So you'll see the players that end up creeping over that side of the field into that car wash that's just in front of the 50 there. This player's job from this position is to get low and lock off these two lanes. So with the can in the middle, the shot's blocked off. So what they want to do, as soon as they see the player running through the left side of that gap here, they're going to try to line up their paint right down this line and shoot as much as possible to try to clip the player who's coming in to break that gap. Now they're wanting to make the kill just before they get into that bunker, so that they give them a kind of a false sense of security getting all the way in. But if they've got that nice solid line of paint going, much like Andrew Gies has been able to do all day very productively, and keep those players out of that key bunker. As you see, there's a lot of shots from this middle here. I'm gonna get out of the ways of the refs as they're filling up these bunkers here, but I've got another bunker on this side that I'm gonna show you a little bit about. And that's this very important insert car wash that I've been talking about. Now, because of the way that this layout is set up, again, a very aggressive layout. This field is made for a lot of attacking, a lot of forward movement, very fast-paced, action-filled games. So the player coming either around the outside or in front of these dual pills comes into this car wash, and you've got a couple of different options from here because of the way that it's laid out. If I was playing this field defensively, what I would do is cut on the inside and start to engage in battles with the corner there. And then if you remember from the other side, you've got a Dorito that's right on the other side of this big 50A. And the only bump that that player can make has to be down the side to getting into this 50 Dorito. And so this bunker here has a great shot on blocking off that line to make sure that the player cannot make it all the way into that Dorito, which is going to be very important later in the day when we start seeing players get more used to the layout, getting a little bit more aggressive on that side of the field. So we got one of our head referees here, Jay Weaver, making sure that the field is all up to snuff and specification, making sure the bunkers have air between our 20-minute break here, and I'm going to see what else we've got going on. So another very important bunker that I've seen the Whites play offensively, which is, I guess working out for him so far, not necessarily my cup of tea to play this bunker as an offense. But defensively, this is another very powerful bunker, especially if you've got somebody up in that Dorito in front of you, because if you're able to get into this stand-up temple, this is a very dominant bunker, very powerful to be in. You've got a lot of extra body movement. If you're not getting shot at from the inside, you can take a couple of steps back and kind of relax a little bit, make sure that you're got yourself room to breathe. You don't need to get too tight into it. But as long as you can look down the outside, you can stop the movement down that side of the field. Now, another thing that a lot of inexperienced players aren't necessarily familiar with is what's called the drop shot. So from right here, just because of the parabolic arc that you're going to get with the paintball as it goes down the field at relatively low velocities when we're talking about projectiles, is if you were to shoot right over the top of that Dorito, the balls will drop in to that first Dorito on that side, and you might be able to get a kill if he's looking on the outside or trying to make a bump. And again, you can see that very similar shot from the outside of this Dorito. So what I was pointing out to a couple players before the game is that if you look right down this side, in between the gap of those bunkers, if you shoot right in between those two tips of those Doritos, the paint will drop in, probably drop about 5 or 6 inches. And again, if you've got a player who's looking down the outside or trying to make a move up, showing his body language that he's trying to be aggressive, if he gets caught sloppy at all, that paint will drop right in, and that's a free kill for the guy shooting down the tape. Now, another thing that we've noticed, and I've been pointing out today, is that most teams have been sending the majority of their players to that far side of the field. And so what the teams need on this side of the field specifically is to keep this player alive. Again, this Dorito here, very solid defensively, very good to be offensive, even if you're just, locking down lanes and making sure the defense can't do anything that they want to. But if this player is eliminated, then there are very few options into getting paint into this grouping and locking down that gap in between those two Doritos there, unless, of course, you've got somebody in that car wash that we were talking about earlier. But because of the placement of this big 50 bunker, it blocks a lot of the shots that would normally be coming from this corner of the field. So communication is cut down. You no longer have the middleman, sort of. So if you've got the coaches trying to relay information to the other side of the field, if they've got the flag over there, the first thing he's going to do is yell to his player on this side so that he can get a little bit closer and start the information. So it's just going to be like a game of telephone wire. We've got the coach relays information to the player on this side, who then yells and tries to relay information, and it bounces all the way around to the other side of the field, so that even if you don't have a coach on that far side, you're still able to get the information there. Now it looks like the owner of the league, Lawrence Kagawa, is sitting here talking to his head and ultimate refs, making sure that everybody's making the right calls. These guys are in a good mood, ready to get their jobs done. Harley's coming in to make sure they know what's going on, getting those bunkers set up.
10 minutes.
There's our 10-minute warning to the second half. So those guys up in the tower are working very hard, making sure that we've got all the information we need down here on the field in order to be productive. Now again, this game takes place at 10 a.m., started at 10 a.m. this morning, and then we had a little bit of issues possibly with the weather or possibly with some other things, but for some reason we were not able to get full service or wireless connectivity to the live feed. So this is going to be uploaded later to the service. You guys will be watching this a little bit late. Again, I apologize for the inconvenience on that, but the games will get up and you will have something to watch and you get back from work or back from the field after your hard day of practice. For those of you who are just turning in, my name is Griffin Spanner, and this is National Speedball League Game Day 4, Part 2 at Red Dot Paintball in Tri-Cities, Washington. So it looks like we've got our other media crew and one of our refs hanging out in the shelter here provided for the teams. The whites are hanging out in the parking lot there as the storm is rolling in. Look at those nice dark clouds. We've got lightning strikes down the side. I don't know if you guys have been noticing that, but it's definitely keeping things interesting here. One thing that you're going to start to see that changes a little bit, especially if we get a very hard downpour, is the way that the paint reacts. So paintballs, just like this one, they are 68 caliber, and this is what the players are shooting out of their guns. Now these are gelatin-filled capsules that are actually almost manufactured relatively similar to NyQuil. Completely water-soluble. We're shooting Draxis paint here today, made by GI and Draxis. Very good stuff. This is what I shoot in my tournaments. But if we get that down there and step on it, show you guys that this is filled with a bright yellow paint, and that's what you're going to try to see marking those players, is this bright yellow fill. And so this is one of the advantages that I have for those white jerseys, is that if they don't wash those, or if they don't wipe those hits off in between the points, that paint stays on for a little while. You'll see even some players walking out, some of the older hits, you'll see a little bit of the staining. Again, this will wash out with a little bit of water if you just dip it in a bucket or hose it down. But until that's all the way washed off, it might confuse some of the referees. An advantage to that I would say is that if your jersey is dirty, then a lot of times it's harder to spot hits, which is how I played last season, but a lot of these guys have been doing a little bit better job than I was, keeping their equipment clean, making sure that there's no confusion there. As we see the players and the coaches getting ready back into their pits, we've got David Wilson and Brian Albin walking down to the tower, got his water in him. David making sure to stay hydrated. Now this is almost the weather that David was hoping for. I was able to talk to him a couple days ago about the game. He was definitely getting excited. He's very proud to help lead his team, trying to get to that big 4-0 by the middle of the season to help lock this in. But you know, big boy from Texas, this is what he likes to see. He wants all this humidity in the air. He wants these guys to be breathing and sucking in water so that they can't perform to their top abilities, because he's used to this kind of heat and humidity. So this is exactly what he wants to see. Maybe even a little bit warmer, but I'm for one glad that it's not 100 degrees like it was supposed to be today, because skinny white boy doesn't like extreme weather. So now we've got David and Brian coming out. So Brian, would you mind talking to the camera a little bit?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably mind. So he's definitely trying to make sure that his head is still in the game. Again, this is a very mentally taxing sport, especially for the coaches. They've got a lot to keep track of, a lot to keep in mind while they're going through the game. So he's got to make sure that he's staying sharp so that he can get the best game plan to his team, especially a team like the Whites, who, while not being necessarily easily discouraged, he definitely wants to make sure that they keep their spirits up, make sure that they have every advantage that they possibly can, every trick in the book that he can pull out in order to regain the lead here in this game. So the Badgers are obviously sitting a little bit comfortable with their 1-0 lead, which, as we saw in the last game day, a 1-0 lead can last for a very long time, and you've got that same spread here with 2-1. But one thing that you see that's very important at the middle of the games during halftime is that by now these players are a little bit used to the layout. They know how the field's playing. They know how their coaches are reacting. You know, they know which players are on, which players are off, how they're doing. Here's Trevor Hollenbeck getting back into the pits, getting ready. 6-minute warning till the start of quarter 3. Going to take you through the Whites pits here, showing you kind of what's going on. Eddie Osborne is getting his groove on here, making sure he keeps his head in the game. That's gangsterlicious, Eddie. That's how you do it from the deep north Canada for shizzle. Yep, throwing it up. Eddie Osborne, one of the younger players in the league, actually just graduated from Richland High School. He celebrated that in mid-June, so he's ready for his summer break, but obviously not taking a break from any taxing mental activities as he's on the field today, making sure that he's got everything going on. Again, his good friend and co-player, Donnie, getting some reps in on the field, shooting my mark, which is good. Trevor looking for something.
Paintballs.
Looks like he found it. He found his bullets.
My bullets?
His paint bullets.
My bullets are here.
Stop it. Back your older.
All right, and it looks like we're just waiting for the rest of this time to click down to get everybody back onto the field and get some more action for you. As the weather is beginning to kind of starting to make up its mind. Oh yeah, this is just recording.
I know.
As it looks like Corey's watching Foamy the Squirrel or something similar to that, which might or might not be appropriate for children, so I'm going to let him watch that in the privacy of his little booth there. So again, we've got the refs and the head commissioner here of the league getting everything sorted out, making sure that all of his guys are doing their jobs properly, making sure that the right calls are being made. We've got a couple of spectators here. We've got Mike Dingledine from the Reds, who was scheduled to play this morning, but due to a couple of conflicts and limitations, that game has been rescheduled. But, you know, this is the field that he helped design on the Reds, so he's out here watching how it plays, trying to get as much information as possible to try to give his team the advantage during their next game, which is to be determined, but it definitely will be played soon. So another thing that we're going to hear him do is probably talk a whole lot with Harley Grinder after the game, you know, try to figure out what worked, what didn't work, things like that. And while we've got the time, I'm going to give you guys a quick run through of how points are scored. So this is the start box, and you'll see these two ropes on the side here and here. So at the beginning of the point, or the beginning of each play, you've got all 4 players must be inside of this box. And when they need to be in the box depends on whether or not they're offense or defense. So if you're on offense, all 4 players have to be in this box by the time that the 10-second warning buzzer blows. But on the defense, they've got all the way up until the point starts in order to get their players in here. All right, it looks like we're getting a signal that our live feed is back up, so you might have a little bit of action going on live that I can show you. Then you'll have to maybe switch back to this. It looks like he's giving me the signal to go ahead and switch to live, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this recorded feed down, and I'll get right back there with you.
Give him the snack.